Checkers, we are back at King Project once again. We are on the final video of this project. We've been doing this for the whole month, October 2017, and I hope you guys have enjoyed little tidbits and little slices of pie of Dr. King and some of his great work and legacy, and my little spin on some of the different things that happened and didn't happen. Today, I really want to wrap it up with Dr. King's final move, where he was really gearing up for the Poor People's Campaign, a march, or really a sit-in occupation of Washington, D.C., and really getting his agenda across. And I really want to go into some details about why this was such an important, impactful issue for Dr. King. He was really about economic equality and justice at this point in time of his life and his legacy and what he was focused on. He was in a situation where he knew, the poverty line and the gaps were something that was an injustice because it was something that he felt was something that didn't need to be an issue, a social issue that we had in America, the greatest country in the world. At the time, the minimum wage was about $1.25 an hour, which is relatively about less than $10 an hour in today's terms. In 1963, that I Have a Dream speech, really that was really for the jobs and freedom speech that was really officially called, and that's really where that all came from. And most people know him from I Have a Dream speech, but I don't think they understand really what that speech was all about. And I think this was just like a little appetizer to really the Poor People's Campaign and the direction that he went into as he transitioned into the human rights issue and the economic issues. Dr. King really gave me a great quote that I got from him here, and here it is like this. We refuse to believe that there are insufficient funds in the great vault of opportunity of this nation. So he really held our nation at a standard and expectation that we needed to back up who we were as being the number one country in the world, the moral standard of the world, and really feed our own people and really address the economic gaps and inequality that he was really focused on at the time of his life. His main backup of why comes into another quote that I kind of found that I think really wraps up what I'm talking about here, and it goes like this. So we've come to cash this check, a check that will give us upon demand the riches of freedom and security of justice. So, Dr. King was great at being able to kind of use metaphors and really get his point across and be really influential within his speech. And I'm just really grabbing little tidbits from these great speeches and with these quotes. And it really, again, wraps up a lot of where his mindset was when it comes to what he was involved with. Here's another one. The other thing I want to understand is that it didn't cost the nation one penny to integrate lunch counters. It didn't cost the nation one penny to guarantee the right to vote. But now we are dealing with issues that cannot be solved without the nation spending billions of dollars. Dr. King was in a situation where he was looking at our government, involved with the Vietnam War, where we're going $300,000-$400,000 a year for a soldier to do his thing, and we're doing less than $100 a year for people in poverty. So, for someone at that time, and for someone as clear Dr. King was with his mind and really the social issues and really the social patterns that really he advocated for, he was very, very clear on the moral obligation to really have this battle, this fight, this campaign, even though everyone around him, all of his people within his organization, pretty much America, were all against him in the way that he was talking and speaking out about this issue. And it was really shocking, and it was really something that isolated him, not only from his own people, but again, from the government. And it made him somewhat of a target or somewhat of a problem when it comes to really disrupting what we had going on and the social norms that we had expected with our investment into what we thought American was. He felt like because we had the biggest guns, we had the biggest power, that that wasn't the way to show our strength. Our way to show our strength was, again, really addressing it with love. And Dr. King was definitely alone in that thought, in my opinion. As I said, Dr. King really saw this issue as the same thing, like wage gaps, as the same thing as civil rights issues. He saw that poverty was the same thing as a prejudicial issue, and they were the same struggle that needed to be addressed. These were just as important to some of the different things he had done already. And so what he was doing on Washington, D.C. for this Poor People's Campaign he was gearing up for in 1968 was an occupation. It wasn't going to be a march. It wasn't going to be a movement. It wasn't going to be a demonstration. It was going to be an occupation that we're going to sit in on this march. And really, I think this was the game changer that really really would have caused a lot of problems, and it would have been called Resurrection City. And if he had not been assassinated, I believe that instead of the meager 3,000 people or so that were involved, that were headed and led by Abernathy, it would have been about 15 to 20,000 people there, and they would not have been there for only 6 weeks. They would have been there until something broke, and Dr. King definitely would have broke the system when it comes to having something happen. Without him, they didn't get an economic bill changed. They didn't get any legislation work done. But I believe there would have been an economic bill if Dr. King would have been involved in this movement, this occupation. I believe that the moderate success, like increasing money for free and reduced lunch for kids, Head Start programs in Mississippi and Alabama, food stamp and welfare programs being modified, all that stuff would have been smashed, and he would have had a total revolution of government programs, action programs, social programs, work programs, skilled to work programs, food programs, would have all been something that would have been part of the legislation. And as we all know, Dr. King felt that the legislation and the budget of what our government was all about was really our moral documents of who we were. And, he was part of Civil Rights Act. He was part of the Voter Rights Act. And arguably, for me, I feel like those documents are great moral documents of what he was all about and what he has established for what our moral character is when it comes to voter rights and civil rights. And so the Poor People's Campaign, to me, in the legislative work that he would have had involved with this, would have blown those two away. I think this would have been up there with our Constitution as far as the moral document and the standard that we would have now have if he was able to be successful with this campaign and really go about what he needed to do. And I really felt like this was a great way to end this project because Dr. King, again, spent the last, I think, 2 years of his life really focusing on this issue, and he had no support, and he was in a situation where he in my mind, was again ahead of his time as usual when it came to seeing what was important and advocating for people in need. Can you imagine if he was able to pull this thing off? He would have had thousands and thousands of people on Washington probably stopping or having a great effect on the war as opposed to 7 years later after his death. I think he would have probably had a lot more social programs in play that would be norms in our society today, and we would have probably a lot less people in the situation they are now based on what he would have done, based on what he has already done with some of the different legislative work that he was able to get accomplished. So I really wanted to kind of really highlight that towards the end of his life and towards the end of this project that we did. I really enjoyed giving you guys great information about Dr. King. I really hope you like my spin on some of the different things that happened within that, and I really appreciate the support for this King project. Thank you so much, guys. It's been fun. I can't wait to come with more projects. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.